More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. 5:15 is the time from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. What a Stanley Cup Final we have now tied up at 2 apiece before this thing goes back to Pittsburgh. And the atmosphere in Nashville has been unbelievable. So let's go out to a man that gets to see this each and every night during this time of the year as the lead NHL color analyst on NBC and NBC Sports. And that, of course, is the great Eddie Olczyk, who joins us right now. Edzo, always great to talk to you. Appreciate the time, and how are you?
I'm doing fine, Zach. A great time of the year in my world. The Stanley Cup Final going on, and also get to moonlight on NBC's horse racing coverage for the Triple Crown. So a busy time of year for me. Doesn't get any better than Pucks and Ponies, and I'll do Game 5 in the Berg on Thursday night, and then I'll fly to New York, and I'll be in Elmont, New York at Belmont Park for our coverage on Friday for an hour, and then I think we have a full 4-hour day on Saturday for the Belmont Stakes. So good to be with you, and should be one heck of a sports weekend if you love Pucks and Ponies.
Now, you never lied to me, and I know that you're very happy at NBC, but are you all scared about your job security after the stellar analysis we got from Charles Barkley last night?
Hey, look, I know where I am on the sports totem pole over there at NBC, so it wouldn't be much to go ahead and take the kickstand and replace myself, considering I sit next to an Emmy Award winner and Doc Emmerich and Pierre Maguire downstairs. So for me, I love what I do. It was great to see Sir Charles on the show last night, along with Mrs. Mike Fisher, Carrie Underwood, and he knows what the hell is going on, and it was fun to have him on our air, and he's been very very opinionated here about the NBA playoffs compared to the NHL playoffs, and I think we're all happy that we had a guy like Charles Barkley in the building last night and talking lots of positives about the NHL.
There's one thing to see it on TV, but you get to be there in person. Describe that atmosphere in Nashville for me.
Well, I would say it compares to a college football type of atmosphere. The only thing I can really compare it to is been down to Tuscaloosa for a game at Alabama, and my daughter goes there, and it felt like that on the weekend. It didn't feel that much, Zach, like it yesterday for Game 4, probably because everybody was recovering from the weekend, and it's Saturday night in Nashville, and they had the outside, the outdoor concert, prior to the game, so everybody was pretty lubed up from probably about 11 a.m. all the way until puck drop and they're on. So but just the atmosphere in Nashville, it's always been a fun building to either play in as I did, coach as I did, or now broadcast. But it just had an atmosphere of a big college football weekend, and the people in Nashville have been waiting a long, long time. And look, this is foreign territory. They've never gotten out of the second round, let alone win 2 games in the Stanley Cup Final. So I would just say I compare it to one of those college football weekends, and it was a lot of fun to be there.
What do you expect moving forward with the 2 goalies in this series?
Well, this series, in my opinion, Zach, it should be a 3-1 lead for the Nashville Predators. Pekka Rinne early in this series was average at best, and I think he cost his team a game for sure in Pittsburgh in games 1 and 2. Too many soft goals. That can't happen. He was pretty much error-free in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. And in the first 2 games of the final, he was not good, and he gave up some bad goals. And you just can't give up routine goals come the Stanley Cup Final. So in saying that, Pekka Rinne has put himself back into the MVP picture, in my opinion, with how he's performed here the last couple of games. You think about the sequence at 1-1, where he stopped Gensel, he stopped Kunitz point blank, and then at 2-1, he made that those incredible saves back to back to back. I think it was Crosby, Rust, and then Gensel, where he went diving across. And easily that's a 2-2 game, and who knows what happens from there. And then at the other end, Matt Murray gives up a breakaway goal to Victor Arvidsson, and all of a sudden it's a 3-1 game. So, look, you need these goalies to make the routine save 110% of the time, Zach. We talked about it a lot over the years. And, right now, Pekka Rinne's got the momentum. The Nashville Predators have the momentum. The Pittsburgh Penguins have only scored 2 goals here in the last 2 games. And if you go back for all 4 games, Zach, go back to the stretch in game 1, a period 2 and 3/4 of period 3. The Penguins didn't even have a shot on goal for 37 minutes of game 1. So when you start doing the math, you sit there and go, wow, Pittsburgh's, in my opinion, they're pretty lucky to be 2-2, with what's gone on here. Now, look, Pittsburgh finds a way to put some of those chances in the back of the net. We probably got ourselves a 5-4 game, and it can go either way. But I think over the course of 4 games, in my opinion, Nashville's been the better team. They probably should be up 3-1, but Matt Murray was really good early. Pekka was really good late, and here we are tied at 2, and now a best of 3 back in the Berg on Thursday night.
Eddie Olczyk with us, and I agree with you. It should be 3-1, but the reality is it's all tied up at 2 apiece, and I couldn't believe that 37-minute stretch where they couldn't get a shot on net in Game 1, and then you see how lopsided it was in Games 3 and 4. You look at this Pittsburgh team, they're just so deep, and they have so many names. How surprised are you? What's going on with them, why they're not lighting up the lamp a little bit more?
Well, let's see. They went to the Stanley Cup Final last year. You had a handful of guys play in the World Cup of Hockey. They played an 82-game regular season, and then they played 5 games against Columbus in round 1, which was probably more like 6.5 or 7 games because of how hard and nasty that series was. They went 7 against Wash, and they went 7 against Ottawa. And I just think that, Zach, look, I think at times the Penguins are just playing on fumes. And, look, to be within 2 wins away, I should say, from winning back-to-back Stanley Cups is incredible enough in the era that we live in now. So, I just think that, hey, I was surprised it was so hard for them to eliminate Ottawa. And, again, I just go back to, what I said a little bit earlier. They just played a lot of hockey. They've had some tough series, and there's going to be some games where, it's just, you're running on empty. And, to be where they are is a great achievement. But, look, they're probably saying, look, all we got to do is win 2 of the next 3 games and we can win our second cup in as many years. And, I think a lot of people that I came in contact with or have heard talk about the series prior to it starting, a lot of people thought that Pittsburgh would win the series in 3 games. I never saw that. I thought it'd be a 6 or 7 game series for sure without any hesitation. And this is, that's the collision course that we're headed on for sure with Game 5 in Pittsburgh on Thursday and then back in Smashville on Sunday for a Game 6. But I just think that, with all the injuries that they've had and all the hockey they played, Zach, I think it's just caught up with them. And just at times, they just don't have a lot there. And Nashville's taking advantage of it.
Eddie, give me one adjustment the Penguins have to make, and then also one adjustment. I know Nashville's very hot winning the last 2 games, one adjustment they have to make moving forward.
Well, I think for Pittsburgh is they somehow, some way got to find a way to score on the power play. I mean, they really do. I mean, go back to Game 3, Zach. They had a 1-0 lead, and then they had 2 power plays back-to-back, and they couldn't score. I mean, they weren't even getting shots on goal. I think they have 3 shots on goal in 2 games. And, missed opportunities there. So I think if they could feed off of their power play, if they could generate some chances. I mean, they actually moved it around last night. They had some really good looks, but that would be the one area to me is that if they can they're going to get power plays. So if they can find a way to cash in, that will certainly be maybe the energy and the little bit of, momentum that they may be looking for. As far as Nashville, I mean, look, I think that they've played really well. They forecheck. Their defensemen have been very, very active. I would continue to stay with that mindset of getting their defensemen involved. But to me, I think discipline will certainly play a big part in these next couple of games. Like you can't take bad penalties. Like you just can't take those penalties. And Nashville has had a tendency here in this final in Games 2 in particular, and then back in Game 1, Game 2, and Game 4 where they've taken some penalties that, I think that could be avoidable. So discipline on their end, Pittsburgh getting their power play going, get them a little confidence, and, maybe that momentum will carry to 5-on-5.
On the way out with Eddie Olczyk from NBC and NBC Sports, of course, the lead color analyst for the NHL and the Stanley Cup Final. Edzo, this replay system, how do you currently evaluate the replay system in the National Hockey League, and what do you think they need to do to fix it?
Well, I mean, I guess you could always argue about the time lapse, but look, if we have it, I don't care if it takes 60 seconds or 6 minutes. Let's make sure we get the call right, and that's where I am on that. Like, do I like how how splitting hairs the offside rule is. Well, until you change the rule, it's what it is. And if they could determine that a play is on or offside, then, that's the way that it's going to be. And as far as goaltender interference and, reading those plays on the offside, I mean, it's interpretation. It's what is being interpreted there. And, we want to see goals. We want to see action. We don't want to see stops and play. But I think as fans, as long as we have the technology and the abilities, that we want to be able to make the calls right. I see the NFL do it. Major League Baseball is has started it here over the last maybe 2-3 years, whatever it is. If you get to a point where it's becoming really long, Zach, I mean, do you lose people? Yeah, I mean, I guess the world we live in now. But as sports fans, I think we want to see the call right. And look, sometimes it's not as easy as people may think. I mean, it's just there are a lot of things that are going on. I mean, I think one thing that the league needs to do a better job of is explaining exactly what they may be looking at, so the fans inside the building and the fans on television. And look, as us announcers, sometimes we're just grasping at straws, saying, they may be looking at one thing and, they're looking at something totally different. I mean, if we had a heads up on that, that would be great. I mean, TV drives the National Football League. I mean, I think we all know that. We haven't gotten to that stage in the National Hockey League. There's pushback from the league and what have you. But, I just want to see the calls right, whether it takes, 60 seconds or 6 minutes. I just want to see and make sure that the call is right. And look, there's not only wins and losses that are on the line, Zach, but, there's jobs on the line for these coaches and these players and these managers. So, I would not want to see a game, end in the Stanley Cup Final, with an offside play being missed and it ends up costing somebody their job right after the final. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So if we got it, let's use it. Let's try to be a little bit quicker, but let's just make sure, most importantly, we get it right.
Now, I know you got to run, but real quickly, break down what we could expect at Belmont this weekend.
Well, the draw is tomorrow, Zach, on I believe that's Wednesday tomorrow. So, it looks like we're going to have a full field of 12 or 13 3-year-olds running in the third jewel of the Triple Crown on NBC on Saturday late afternoon, early evening. Classic Empire of the Horse that finished second, unfortunately for me, in the Preakness, will be the favorite on Saturday. He's had a tough campaign, Zach. He's had 3 races here in the last 55 or 56 days. Hard races too. He won the Oaklawn Derby down in Arkansas. He was all out to win that race, and then 3 weeks later he ran in a Kentucky Derby and got smashed around, and a real tough trip there. And then he ran 2 weeks later at the Preakness and was all out the last 3/8 of a mile and got beat. I think it was more of a jockey error, in my opinion. He rode a perfect race, Julien Leproux, for the first 7/8 of a mile, and then the last 3/8 of a mile, I think he cost the ownership group there of Classic Empire the win of the Preakness Stakes. So for me, look, he's coming back in 3 weeks. I think he's a play against. Who am I going to pick right now? It's probably a little bit early, but for me, if you're a handicapper or a horse player, and if you don't like the favorite, you got a chance. If you're right, you got a chance to make a lot of money on Saturday. So for me, I'm not going to use Classic Empire, so I'm going to throw the favorite out and try to play around him. And if that indeed is the case, I might need the wheelbarrow on my way down to Smashville on Sunday if I could be right on Saturday.
Well, if you are right, that would be nice to see. But let's just say if NBC gives you the boot after the Stanley Cup Final, they bring in Barkley to call games with Doc, you'll pay 99% for the horse, and I'll only pay 1%, and we'll finally get our horse together. This is it, to honor Kenny Loggins. How do you like that, Edzo, after all these years?
Sounds good, Zach. Have a great day. Talk
You
to you
too.
soon.
Thanks so much. Eddie Olczyk with us right now. Over the last few years, we've been teasing ever since that Boston-Vancouver Stanley Cup Final. We've been teasing because I asked him, I said to him, so Edzo, you've been a coach before. Let's say it's a Stanley Cup Final. What would you do? What would your speech be going into Game 7? Would you do some type of Herb Brooks type of miracle speech? He goes, no, I would go in with my, Matrack and play a little Kenny Loggins. This is it. So after all these years, I always say, hey, you should get a horse and name it This Is It, and have a little fun with that. Let's play you a little Barkley from last night. This is from NBC and NBC Sports. Barkley was great. When I found out that they were going to put Sir Charles in the intermission report, I was so thrilled. Now, they got rid of my guy Keith Jones for a little bit of that intermission period, which I didn't love too much about because I do love me some Keith Jones, and they kept Mike Milbury up there, but the interview was great. So here's Liam McHugh, Mike Milbury, and then, of course, Sir Charles.
For this intermission, Mike and I are joined by Basketball Hall of Famer and big-time hockey fan Charles Barkley. Chuck, it's great to have you on. Is it weird for you to watch a competitive game?
For having me. And JR told me I got to come to a game in Nashville, and it's unbelievable. The crowd is amazing.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
I was telling Mike, Chicago Stadium, when the Bulls were in their heyday, was incredible. Incredible. But this atmosphere is amazing.
Yeah, and listen, there are a couple of things we saw in that period. Not really basketball related, but we saw Pecorini have an incredible period of stopping shots. This has got to be like a shot blocker in basketball, does it not?
Well, the difference is these goalies, their flexibility always amazes me. But like sometimes I see them make a save, I pull a groin sitting in the stand. But Pekka has been amazing. Murray has been amazing. Even going back, Marc-Andre Fleury last series. I'm just glad to be here because the NBA playoffs have not been great, but the Stanley Cup playoffs have been amazing.
What's the matter with you talking about the NBA plays? Don't they get a paycheck for talking about that in a nice way?
Well, first of all, they can't fire me.
They can't?
No, because they got to pay me.
All right.
That's why I signed a long-term deal.
You have to get a deal like that, Mike.
Yeah, please. I get the option deal.
No, so I was telling Mike, I was telling Mike, I don't know him well, but I was watching the 30 for 30 on Spano like 3 days ago, and maybe the greatest hockey story ever. Everybody should go and watch the 30 for 30. That was one of the most amazing, crazy things ever happened in sport.
Well, I can tell you, we have a crazy guy here that you know pretty well, a guy that likes to do really weird things like chase alligators. This is your buddy, JR.
Yeah, but you know the problem is, I'm one of those people, when I see JR, who's a really good friend of mine, I sent him a text the other night. I thought the catfish thing was amazing, but I will say this, I'm one of those people, I want to see the alligator eat his ass one time. Wait, listen, we got so many people in America who do stupid stuff because they're going to be on the internet. I would have loved to see the alligator eat JR. That would have been much better television.
So you're telling me that if JR gives you a catfish right now, you won't go down to the glass and throw it on the ice?
No, I'm not throwing a catfish. I don't like fish, number one. But I want to tell people, being at a Stanley Cup playoff game is incredible. I'm having a great time thanks to the Predators. And thank you guys for having me. I got a couple days off. I got to go to Cleveland tomorrow. But thank y'all very much for having me. Shout out to Gary Bettman, who called me and invited me. And I'm hanging with Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux and Pierre LaRouche.
Yeah, and Mike Milbury, too, right?
Yeah,
Mike
exactly.
Milbury, you're right.
Well,
but let me tell you something. Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, and Pierre LaRouche, they are the godfathers of hockey.
Oh, what a spectacular job by Barkley last night. In that 3 minutes and 20 seconds, he promoted a 30 for 30. He completely ripped the NBA. And I bet you the NBA on TNT can't be happy with him today. He also, and Adam Silver can't be happy with him. Then he praised the NHL. He talked about pulling a groin. I could envision that right now. He's on his couch watching one of the games, and he jumps up. Oh, what a save! Oh, my groin! Oh! And then he said he wanted to see JR get just completely eaten by an alligator. You gotta love Barkley, and I'll tell you, when this was going on, this was my reaction. Yes, I was just giving him a big round of applause. Because these NBA playoffs stink. And I'm happy he didn't try to hide it, that they stink. And he just goes, the NBA playoffs, they've been terrible. The NHL have been awesome. And he's exactly right. I don't think there's a better playoff in sport than the Stanley Cup playoffs. Especially this year. This year has been unbelievable. And I hope this thing goes 7. And I picked Nashville in 7. And you heard Eddie Olczyk a few moments ago. He was talking about how Nashville should be up 3-1, but they're not because Pittsburgh just finds a way, but they should be up 3-1. You got to think, and Game 5 will be very telling, because if the Predators win Game 5 and they go back to Nashville with that energy, you got to think that thing's over. If they win Game 5, you think they could close it out on their home ice, but you never know. I have a feeling this thing's going 7. If I had to guess right now, Pittsburgh probably wins Game 5, Nashville probably wins Game 6, and then you get a Game 7 to decide the Stanley Cup Final. Anything goes. Probably go into overtime, too. Maybe 2 or 3 overtimes. Can I ask for a little bit more? But listen to this crowd at Nashville. This was Game 3. This was the crowd in Nashville when Murray allowed a goal. This is just bonkers. That's great. And Eddie put it great. It is like a college atmosphere. And that franchise is only 18 years old. They're 18 years young. They've been to the playoffs 10 out of the 18 years, and now they're in their first Stanley Cup Final. You got to love it. It's just been such a spectacle. It's been so much fun to watch, and that place is in a frenzy with a lot of pandemonium. But I'll tell you, the one thing I didn't like about Nashville last night was Dierks Bentley. I think that's how you say his first name. I have no clue how you say his first name. I'm not a country music guy. My intern, Claudia, though, shakes her head, and she says, yes, you're right. And I played this for her earlier on before we went on air. And I played the first few notes thinking most people, they don't pay attention to the national anthem before the game sometimes. Sometimes you tune in a little bit late, you don't get to see it. But last night, this national anthem was awful. Well, we'll play this for you right now. And I always love, there's something special about being in a building for a great national anthem. I remember when I was at the Super Bowl, this was 2 years ago, Super Bowl 50, Lady Gaga just gave a great, and I mean an absolutely great national anthem. This guy, Dierks Bentley, he was nervous last night, and this guy, checked it out. His net worth is $30 million. So this guy has made a lot of money. He could call up Eddie Olczyk, and I know Eddie doesn't need any help with the money, but he could probably lend him a few million to bet on those ponies. But this was someone that's probably performed at a whole lot of places. Big-time country singer. Net worth of $30 million, and he seemed so nervous. Maybe he was sick. Who knows? But this was absolutely awful. Listen up. Here's the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Yikes. It's as if, Claudia, get the microphone in front of you real quickly. I have to ask you a quick question, whichever one you want, doesn't matter. Wasn't it kind of like he was just saying it? He wasn't singing it.
Yeah.
He was trying to talk it, right?
Yeah, it sounded like it was like kind of whiny. And like I've heard his songs before on the radio, and they're all pretty good. I mean, I'm not a country fan either, but I wouldn't say he's bad at all. But I think that performance wasn't very good, at least up to the like caliber that he could do.
Maybe he had a little bit of a cold, but it kind of sounded like he was trying to go like, oh, say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he was basically just whispering it. Very odd stuff. But other than that, Nashville has done an unbelievable job in these Stanley Cup playoffs, and it's good to see them get the Stanley Cup Final. And we're all rooting for Nashville. We hope they do win because my slogan, it's been this way ever since the Rangers got eliminated. Anyone but Pittsburgh. We don't want to see those stinking Penguins win again. And if you're a fan of Nashville, if you're just hating Pittsburgh, you got to feel good today. Because now the series is tied up to a piece, and even in Game 1, Nashville looked like the better team, so it could be 3-1, but the reality is it's not. It's 2-2. Nashville's going to have to win one of these games on the road, and like I said, Pittsburgh probably wins Game 5. They bounce back. It's tough to see that team lose 3 straight. Then Game 6 goes to Nashville, probably in their own building. And then Game 7, I'll stick with my prediction. Predators in 7. We'll go Nashville in 7. They'll get the job done. Probably in like some type of overtime game where it's 3-2 and something crazy like that. 609-9199-D200. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. One more segment to play. When we come back, we got to get into all the baseball as the Yankees and Red Sox do start a series tonight. The Mets are in Texas up against the Rangers, and the Philadelphia Phillies, who got the victory last night, will look to make it 4 in a row going up against the Atlanta Braves. We'll take a break here on the Zach Gelb Show. 5:40 is the time. We're coming on back right after this from the Princeton Orthopedic Associate Studios, right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, 920 AM, or 920thejersey.com. Don't change that dial. Don't go anywhere. Got about 20 minutes left of the Zach Gelb Show. We'll be back right after this.